So that's I think, a good succinct explanation of the Facebook Cambridge Analytica problem, and we all know that that's just it hasn't gone away. And Facebook has had to, Mark Zuckerberg and his management have had to face some major repercussions for that, and for the fact that anyone who wants to post anything on Facebook seems to be able to do it. The concept, of course, that there's no editor. And people have taken advantage of that with, I think, content that could fairly be called evil. White supremacist groups are one example. Now, I'm not implying any evil here with this latest text that's popped up, but just the fact that with Twitter, a political candidate can reach directly to millions of people. I believe the president is able to reach 40 million followers on Twitter. Why does he need to give an interview to a newspaper or a TV station to get his word out? Imagine Abraham Lincoln not having to send a letter to the editor, which has to travel via the post. Perhaps could be telegraphed, but is probably traveling via the post over several days or a week from Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, to New York, to Horace Greeley of the New York Herald Tribune. He was the very famous bearded and corpulent editor, a fierce abolitionist. And then Horace Greeley prints it in his newspaper, and it's seen in New York, and then it's picked up and printed in newspapers all over the country over the following few weeks. President and many other political candidates can post a message to Twitter, albeit not a lengthy editorial, because there are limitations in terms of size of the post, as we all know, although those have increased. But it's a direct megaphone. It's pretty amazing. Before we go to affiliate marketing, I want to say just one or two more words about Facebook and Twitter and online, particularly social networks. The freedom of speech in the First Amendment, which we looked at when we discussed newspapers in particular, because when the First Amendment was written, it was written about the press, and the press was a press. A printing press, because what was meant was newspapers. The founders of the United States wanted to ensure that there would be those citizens who would spread the word without being censored if they found wrongdoing or something that they had a problem with in the government and in business. In a way, the press becomes a voice for us, the citizenry, the little people, as they say, versus big government and big business. And the Founding Fathers were wise enough to know that we needed that kind of, call it a safety valve, call it a flashlight or whatever, spotlight, as per the movie. Now, that same spotlight, for which people get Pulitzer Prizes, that same freedom of the press has been used to allow people with some questionable content to post it in the U.S. on these social networks in particular. And that, I think it's fair to say, has created problems. It's created a debate about the freedom of speech amendment. And there have been court cases. We have talked about them. Just to remind you, it was decided by the Supreme Court that if someone's speech created a clear and present danger to the public that kind of speech was not covered by the First Amendment. That includes yelling fire in a crowded theater. It includes picketing a line of people who are waiting to enlist in the armed services and telling those people that they shouldn't fight, they should go home. That was a Supreme Court case, and where it was decided that since the nation was at war, that the person picketing the enlistment lines was not covered by free speech. So fast forwarding to today, if white supremacist groups or other groups are inciting some kind of behavior that's a danger to others, that is not covered by free speech. And in other countries like Australia and New Zealand, speech that is racist can be banned, just banned, and people punished who post those things. In the U.S., that is not the case, unless that speech presents a clear and present danger. So our First Amendment has been involved in a number of things having to do with traditional and modern media. Affiliate marketing is very simple. You run a pay-per-click program. I'll give an example of 800 Flowers, where I used to work. You could go to a self-serve website and download banner or video, the latest thing that 800 Flowers is running for whatever holiday is upon us, and you can run it on your site. You have to tag it to make sure any clicks or orders that come from that creative can be traced back to your site. So you put a pixel on it with some code in it, and for which you're helped by 800 Flowers, so it's standardized. And then you run it as much as you want to on your site, and if you generate orders and that's traceable back to your site as it should be with the pixel and the tag, you'll be paid. And so literally hundreds or thousands of websites, many of them very small, can run your advertising. And when we say long tail, that refers to the fact that the internet, the big sites are just so huge, but there's so many sites. So, if you take the 15 or 20 biggest sites and you do a graph that has number of monthly impressions, unique impressions, on the up and down axis, the x-axis, and number of sites on the y-axis, you'll see a big hump at the beginning. The first 15 or 20 sites have huge numbers of impressions and unique visitors, and then this long tail of all these little sites with hardly any visitors. And the long tail ones are the ones that usually jump on an affiliate marketing program. And email. Of course, email is used to a large degree for communicating with one's own database, where you typically have everyone's email. It's very cheap, and it's taken the place of direct mail, for instance, to a large extent. Of course, the issue with emails is clutter. And look at that old cluttered thing there. I'm going to take you through another email program. This is a little bit different. This is running an ad in an email, but you'll see that hopefully make some points that are relevant to the issue of marketing by emails. So this is another one that good old Hive was involved in, and I was involved in, actually with 1-800-Flowers this time as the client. So Hive, as you saw, decided to help Choice Hotels make money with the Wi-Fi landing page. They also wanted to help Choice Hotels make money with reservation confirmation emails. So if you book direct with Choice Hotels and don't go through a travel website, which is what they want you to do, they want you to book direct, You remember their advertising campaign is bada book, bada boom, because they save money if you book direct. Anyway, so if you book direct, 4.5 million people do book direct every month across all the Choice Hotels brands. And once they book, they pretty much immediately get a reservation confirmation email with details of their stay and a confirmation number. And not surprisingly, these emails have a very high open rate, 90%. This is versus a 24% email open rate in 2017. That's the average open rate for all emails. And by the way, this is how we sold 800 Flowers. About a third of Choice Hotel stays are business stays, and these tend to be the busy road warrior type people who use 1-800-Flowers. They're the best customer for 1-800-Flowers. So the way we were selling it was you couldn't segment the list. You basically had to run the same creative across the whole 4.5 million emails every month. And there was no capability for video or any rich media. You could only run a banner ad. And we know from research that with emails, that an event-triggered email, event-triggered means that you've bought something or done something or booked something. That's the event. And those type of emails have not only a higher open rate, but a much higher conversion rate than regular emails. This is kind of a mock-up of what 800 Flowers did. We started them about 3 or 4 weeks before Mother's Day in 2018. And here is their banner at the bottom. And it's got an offer and then a click for you to shop now. And obviously we had tagged that so that we got credit for the clicks. And then 800 Flowers was able to see how many orders came from our emails. And there is the reservation confirmation email, kind of the template, giving the details, etc., etc. Now, this is from 800 Flowers, and this was pulled. No, wait a minute now. This is from us. I apologize. I apologize. These are the numbers that we put together, the speculative numbers that we tried to put together to convince 800 Flowers to do this email, to run this ad for us. We were trying to get them to pay us on the CPM basis, or at least to guarantee us $40,000 or $50,000 a month to be the first advertiser to run in the reservation confirmation emails. And so this is how the numbers are put together. You've got on the top line, the top row, you have how many emails go out every month is 4.5 million. There's the open rate at 90% that we discussed. Here's some different assumptions on how many people would click on the banner ad, from 1 to 4%, and we would look at how the results would vary based on that. Here's the purchase rate, and again, it goes from 2.5% to 5%. Would purchase, and average order value, I think we got from their website. We didn't get that from them, $70 per order. And then we have the number of conversions. So this is how many purchases there would be for each scenario. And then we multiply that times $70 per average order to get the monthly revenue. And then we have to deduct our cost of goods sold, or how much do the flowers cost, to come up with a margin, okay, a profit margin for 800 Flowers in different scenarios. Now, something else we included is a factor called the off-email multiplier. This is people who clicked on the banner but did not purchase immediately, but went back and clicked again later when they had more time, or went to the website and purchased because they were influenced presumably by the banner. And that some people estimate as being 3 times your initial sales. We assume 2 times the sales, and we put that revenue down and got the margin for multiplier sales. So this was to show 800 Flowers that they could reasonably expect to make a fair amount of money here between immediate clicks and off email multipliers. And so they ought to pay us a guarantee. That's what we thought.